Hi, welcome to Mission Control Houston, and thank you for joining us today. We're inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room where the Orbit 2 team is monitoring the systems and the cruise activities aboard the International Space Station. We're here today to talk with 6th to 8th grade students that are out at Huntsville, Alabama at Space Camp. And here with us today is a special guest. She knows a little about Space Camp, Liz Warren, who is also the Space Station Science Communication Coordinator. Welcome, Liz, and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to speak with you.
Thank you. And what is also very, very, very special about Liz being here is, well, you've been here at NASA for 8 years now, and she's a Space Camp graduate. She went to level 1 and level 2, and was recently inducted into the Space Camp Hall of Fame just this year.
Yes, I was.
Congratulations.
It was a lot of fun. It's a huge honor. So many people have gone to Space Camp, just like the students we're speaking with today. I believe while I was there in June, the 600,000th graduate walked through the doors of Space Camp.
So that's exciting. So again, we have a special treat for you guys. So we're ready to go with your questions.
Hi, I'm Maggie Swanian, and I'm from Duluth, Georgia. My question is, what are all the kind of like defects almost of being in space too long? What happens to your body? What happens if you're there too long or for a long period of time?
Well, that's a great question, and it's actually very appropriate. I'm a physiologist, so that's like the thing I'm most interested in, what happens to the human body when you go to space for a really long time. And while it looks like a lot of fun to live in space and float around, it looks like a great time, it's not really that good for your body. Gravity is this force that we live with on Earth all the time, and it helps us maintain strong bones and muscles and a strong cardiovascular system. In microgravity, well, those systems tend to decondition or get weaker. So astronauts can lose bone mass, bone strength, muscle strength and mass, and also their hearts get a little bit weaker, among some other changes. Fortunately, we have studied these changes, and we know how to prevent them or prevent some of the changes that occur. So astronauts have to exercise about 2 hours every day, and we make sure that they eat very nutritious meals. So just like living here on Earth, it's important to exercise and eat well, and that helps our astronauts, helps you as well.
Good question. We have another one?
My name is Emma Hearn, and I'm from Snellville, Georgia. And my question is, when did you decide you wanted to be an astronaut or work at NASA?
I think I was pretty young when I decided that being an astronaut would be pretty cool, and definitely working at NASA. I might have been even younger than you. And I just set my goals and asked a lot of questions, asked my parents, how do I do this? I talked to teachers, and really anyone can work at NASA. There's a variety of interests. Engineering and science and math, of course, help you open up many doors to career fields, but NASA has people that are artists and lawyers as well. But I knew pretty young that I wanted to contribute to space exploration, and I think it was, in particular, there was one very inspiring space shuttle mission to me. It was STS-40. It was in the year 1991. I was still in high school, and this mission was dedicated to studying space life sciences. And I didn't know very much about space life sciences, but I knew that I liked space, and I knew that I liked biology. And this particular space shuttle mission combined both of my interests. And with that mission, I decided I'm going to go be a physiologist at NASA. It took a couple of years, but here I am.
And we're very glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Good question. Next question.
Hi, my name is Cameron, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. And I was wondering, have you ever sent any other monkeys to space other than Mrs. Baker and Abel?
Well, Mrs. Baker and Abel were very special monkeys, but in fact, a lot of different animals, including other monkeys, have flown in space. In fact, our early space program, since we weren't really sure what would happen to the human body living in space, we had animals go first and kind of test the waters, so to speak. But in fact, we've even on the International Space Station, we have a brand new aquarium. It's called the Aquatic Habitat, and pretty soon we're going to have some fish on board, so we can learn about multi-generational studies. In other words, send up some fish that are going to have babies. We'll study their babies and then their babies, so we can learn developmentally what happens in microgravity. But yeah, lots of animals have been to space.
Do we have another one?
Hi, I'm Margaret Ann, and I'm from Duluth, Georgia. And my question is, who controls the shuttle or the rocket? Is it you or the astronauts?
Well, I think a lot of the controlling of vehicles actually happens from the ground. But Amiko, do you want to chime in? You know, you work here in the International Space Station control room.
This entire room is full of a team, and not only this team, there are many other folks that are not inside this room that manage and work the systems that are the International Space Station, which is now flying 230 miles above the Earth, and orbiting the Earth. How many times a day?
Like 16 times a day, every 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Of course, the astronauts are on board. Most of the rockets to make sure that all the systems are operating nominally, and of course they have to throw switches, and certainly during landing they're having to make key inputs as well. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it's a team. There's no one person that manages all of that, obviously, and that's why teamwork is so very important to us here. And it's also something that you can probably use yourself as you continue to work on your education career, and then later in life in your career, you'll see that teamwork is very valuable in all aspects of your life. Good question. Do we have another one?
I'm Kira Hoskin from Atlanta, Georgia. About how many people has America attempted to send up to space?
I think total there's been close to 500 people total who have been to space. And I actually don't know the distribution of Americans versus Russians versus other countries. But that's actually a pretty small number when you consider all of the human beings that have existed on our planet. We've been sending people to space for 50 years now, which sounds like a long time probably to you, but that's just only been a very short time. So I think in the future our numbers are going to keep growing as commercial spaceflight really comes on board. In fact, there's even been spaceflight participants or tourists is a less commonly used term, but there are companies right now who are working towards sending people who just buy a ticket to space, and that's kind of a neat thing, opening up this once very restricted area to more people. So I think more people are going to go to space very soon.
Very good. And as Liz said, I don't really know that distribution as well. I don't have my cheat sheet with me. However, but I have talked with several of these folks who have flown to the International Space Station, and I will tell you that they all recognize that it is a privilege and an honor to fly aboard the International Space Station, but it is something that is obtainable. And so if it's something that you aspire to do, I would encourage you to continue with your studies. That is always first and foremost. Even just to come to work here at NASA is very, very important. So continue with that, and you'll see your dreams.
Absolutely. One of the key aspects of Space Camp, and one of the things that we learn at Space Camp is teamwork, the importance of being a good follower as well as a good leader. So those skills I recall learning pretty much for the first time at Space Camp and Space Academy. And believe me, those skills, those little bits that you take away from Space Camp, they're with you for the rest of your life. I still draw upon experiences that I learned at Space Camp.
Absolutely. Good question. Do we have another one?
Hi, I'm Matt Stone from Lawrenceville, Georgia, and my question is, what is the longest period of time that an astronaut has been in space?
Matt, that's a good question. The longest time at once, like in one consecutive stay in space, was actually done by a Russian. His name is Valery Polyakov. 438 days. So well over a year, this gentleman stayed in space. We have many other astronauts and cosmonauts that, when you add up the number of stays that they've been in space, have just been tremendous. I think Sergei Krikalev has well over a couple of years, correct?
Sure.
There's been a number.
Also, even today is a special day for the commander of the space station, Gennady Padalka. Today actually marks his 700th cumulative time in space. So yeah. So several people who have chalked up some time.
Yeah.
Good question. Do we have another one?
Yeah, my name is Sarah, and my question is that if you could predict when humans could start going to Mars.
You know, we are learning every day on the International Space Station how to live and work in space efficiently and safely. It's a very hard thing to do. Just keeping a vehicle in an operational state is very hard to do. Just yesterday, we completed a very complex and very important spacewalk because we had an electrical problem on the space station. So every day we're learning how to live and work safely in space. We're going to go to Mars. It's just a matter of time and national priority. I think if we had to go soon, we could go, but there's still a lot we need to learn. For example, just human beings. Being in space for that long is really hard. There are some challenges with radiation, so there's a lot we need to learn, but I'm sure we're going to get there eventually.
Good question. Do we have another one?
Hi, my name is Brandon, and I live in Lawrenceville, Georgia. And my question is, how would astronauts move around and do regular everyday things with much less gravity?
Well, living on the International Space Station, we say microgravity. And you can see video. I hope you're able to watch NASA TV or some of the excellent footage we have on the NASA.gov website and YouTube sites. It looks like a blast. It looks like fun.
They go like
float.
this. It's very slow motion.
Yeah. All you need it's very effortless, though. If you want to move all the way across a room, all you need to do is push gently on the wall that you're near, and you'll float to the other side of the room. So it looks like a lot of fun, but it's also looks pretty easy. You can use your hands, you can use your feet, and
you see them lifting very large, heavy things that traditionally we would not be able to lift here on Earth. But also, I know that at times it can complicate things. And as Liz had mentioned earlier about even just the, if you imagine the gravity, especially on our bodies, just the simple movements that we make, standing, sitting, and walking, even though you may not have a routine workout session here on Earth, that gives you some exercise, where in space you don't get that. So I think it benefits, and it also complicates things at times.
Absolutely.
Good question. Do we have any more?
My name's Ava, and my question is, how does the space station orbit?
Hi, Ava. Well, once you've reached a velocity that is fast enough and you're high enough in the atmosphere or just outside the atmosphere, it stays in orbit. Now, once in a while, we have to reboost the space station. Once it's in orbit, it just goes around and around the Earth. It's constantly falling, though, essentially. And when we talk about microgravity, you can also say free fall. So the space station is always falling toward the Earth, but the great thing is the Earth is also moving away from it. So that's this neat balance between gravity pulling it down and the force of the space station and the speed of the space station carrying it away. It's a nice balance, which creates that microgravity environment. But the way it stays in space is every once in a while we have to give it a little bit of a boost because there's just a little bit of friction out there, just a few air molecules, and every time the space station hits one of those little air molecules, it slows down ever so slightly. So every once in a while we have to give the space station a little extra boost, and it'll stay up there indefinitely until we're ready to take it down.
Very good question. Very smart kids, I can tell. Do we have another one?
Hi, my name is Reagan. I'm from Huntsville. What are the qualifications of an astronaut?
Hey, Reagan. Well, the qualifications for astronauts are that they have to have an advanced education. So you got to finish college, get a Bachelor of Science degree in science, math, technology, engineering, and also usually work experience. The more breadth you have seems to be really valuable. Our astronauts have a wide variety of skill sets and experience. There are people who are marine biologists, there are geologists, there are engineers, there are there are a whole variety. There's medical doctors, so it almost seems like any career that you choose. And if you want to be an astronaut, be really good at what you do and enjoy what you're doing. Choose a field that is something you enjoy, and you'll probably excel if you're doing something that you really enjoy, and get a lot of different skills. And pilots, there are people in the military who become astronauts because of their experience flying. So there's a great need for people with really high skill sets and abilities.
Absolutely. Do we have any more?
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm from Georgia. Besides exercise, what do astronauts do?
Boy, astronauts are very, very busy. When I said they exercise 2 hours a day, that's crammed in the middle of a very busy day. An average day in space usually wake up around 6 in the morning. Now, when I say 6 in the morning, that's on Greenwich Mean Time. So for Houston and for Huntsville, that's about 2 in the morning. Right, or 1 in the morning, depending on if it's Central Daylight or if it's Daylight Savings Time or not. Wake up at 6, have a little bit of time for hygiene, eating breakfast, getting ready for the day, getting dressed, and then right into a conference where you speak with ground controllers here in the space station control room. You kind of talk about what's going to go on for the day, and then you get right into doing science experiments, maintenance of the space station. It takes a lot of work just to keep the space station going. Variety of space station experiments. You may be working with flame and combustion 1 minute, and then the next minute taking an ultrasound, or the next hour taking an ultrasound images of your heart. And then you may go tend to the aquatic habitat where you may have some fish. And then have a quick lunch usually. Keep working throughout the day. Maybe have another conference with a doctor or the flight director just to keep tabs on how things are going. The day usually ends with another conference where you talk about what happened during the day with the ground controllers, talk maybe about what's going to happen the next day, what worked, what didn't work. And in the middle there, I said, you have your 2 hours of exercise, and then you have a little bit of free time, and then bed. And that's a very, very busy day. The astronauts have a tremendous workload, and almost every minute is accounted for.
Very busy day, and it's every day.
Every day. They get a little time to talk to their families on the weekends, and they can make a phone call here and there.
Yep.
But otherwise, they're extremely busy. There's 6 people on the International Space Station, and they're working very hard. So you can imagine how much work is getting done.
Very good question, and I think we have time for another one. Do we have another one?
My name is Abigail, and I'm from Huntsville, Alabama, and I was wondering, have there ever been any problems with this rocket ship or anything that happened that wasn't supposed to happen?
Well, absolutely. Space travel, Abigail, is difficult. We've been doing it for 50 years. We're still learning. There have absolutely been some challenges to overcome. We've had some accidents along the way. We've lost some people, and that's very hard. It's something that we accept in the space business, though. We go into this knowing that we're pushing the very boundaries of human ability. And when you're exploring and you're pushing boundaries, there's going to be some losses, and we've had some very sad losses. But it also gives NASA an opportunity and our international partners to really shine too, because when you overcome a challenge, it really feels good. Like I mentioned earlier, just yesterday, there was a very, very difficult EVA. That's a spacewalk that was performed that fixed a really serious problem with power. That it was basically cut the space station's power by about half, essentially. So every day we're having challenges almost every day, and when we overcome those challenges, it feels really good, and it helps us to learn so that we can do better in the future.
And maybe one day get to Mars.
I believe it. We will.
Next question.
What was the first mission they ever worked on?
Me personally, I was doing research as a college student. The first mission I helped with was STS-84. And this experiment actually went to the Mir space station. It launched on the space shuttle, went to the Mir space station, and stayed there with astronaut Mike Foale. And it was a little experiment that studied circadian rhythms or sleep and how well astronauts may learn how to sleep better and how light affects how well they sleep. And actually, the experiment was on little beetles. We launched little beetles and little miniature holding canisters, and that was the first mission that I worked on. And I've been working ever since on a whole bunch of missions. It's been a tremendous honor, and I love doing it every day. And if it's something you want to do, just keep working at it. It's sometimes there's obstacles to overcome in school or in your personal life. I was very, very happy and lucky that I knew what I wanted to do, so I just set my goal and I worked toward it steadily.
Do you have another one?
My name is Jemin and I'm from Ohio. And how did the people know where to land Curiosity on Mars?
Wow, I don't even know the answer to that question, but I can guess. And I think they chose a place on Mars that was really interesting to them geologically, but I am definitely not the right person to ask. There's so many things to learn about NASA, we can't possibly all know all the answers.
And I'm certainly not the person to ask either. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that, but you can go to www.nasa.gov. There's a ton of information there. Obviously, there was a ton of information about Mars Curiosity. There are several people who tweet on Twitter, so if any of you guys are on Twitter, go there. I would say follow the flight director, Mohawk guy. Bobak Podolsky, he's known as Tweets Out Loud on Twitter, and you can get a lot of information about what exactly is going on with that Mars rover there on Mars and that landed in the Gale crater. Do we have any more?
Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm from Stone Mountain, Georgia, and I was wondering how it felt when you had a successful landing from either a human or an animal, and like they came back and they went there with no problems.
Well, that mission that I mentioned earlier, STS-84, being that it was the first mission that I worked on personally, it was tremendous. I had watched a lot of space shuttle missions launched before that, and just watching those missions happen, very exciting and thrilling. But when you have a part, when you're playing a part or a small role, it really gives you tremendous satisfaction. Everyone here at NASA. Pretty much everyone has a very small role for the most part. And when you add up all those people working together, you can do tremendous things. And you know, the astronauts, they're just the most visible pieces of a mission, but there's thousands of people working every day to make sure that we're successful. And all those thousands of people, I get tremendous self-satisfaction knowing that I'm helping just the littlest bit, and that makes me feel really good. It just makes you feel just good inside.
And I think that's an overall the consensus here. I honestly at landing, you know, I've seen many missions land, and I can tell you every time we land and we have a successful mission, I get goosebumps. I get excited. It doesn't change. I never become desensitized where I think, yeah, I've seen it once, I've seen it all. Every mission is different, and every mission is special, and everyone involved in that is very special and unique and important to us, as well as the mission as well. And so, yeah, it's very important to us, and I think, of course, we feel elated when we know that we nailed it. Next question.
I'm Caitlin, and I'm from Georgia. And I was wondering about how many different types of animals have you sent up to space?
Well, personally, let's talk generically. Boy, there's been fish, there's been monkeys, there's been insects, there's been mice and rats. I would say at least 10, probably, different types of animals have been in space, and we can study them and learn from them as well as from our astronauts. So I think.
Yeah, quite a few critters have gone up into space. So, along with our people critters. I think that's about all the time that we have. That was the last question. We really appreciate you guys coming out and joining us again. We are inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room in Mission Control Houston. Thank you. Bye, guys.